Well, folks, we're back. This car and me have not been getting along. I've been pulling what hair I have left out on this thing with it acting up. So I'm going to talk about the symptoms. The symptoms of this car just started about, I would say, 3 weeks to a month ago. We went to a local cruise and drove for a couple hours up and down Main Street here in a small town, and started noticing it was getting a surge and a little bit of a kind of a buck, and no backfiring or anything, but it started just acting, the power was down on it. It's been using a lot more fuel. So we came back that night, and as we drove coming back home, it started backfiring. It got worse and worse. We made it home. It barely made it up on the 4-post. So I made some assumptions that were incorrect. So I made some assumptions because I've had bad fuel pumps go out, electric fuel pumps go out on me before, that it had to be the fuel pump. And I mentioned that in the previous video, and I was wrong. Although it did have the wrong size fuel pump in it when I first set the car up. I did have too small of a pump, but that didn't have anything to do with it. I thought it was just running out of fuel. Now, no, I don't have a fuel pressure gauge in the car. I do have a fuel pressure gauge coming off the throttle body. It has the Holley Sniper EFI with a Hyperspark ignition, MSD 6AL and MSD coil, the SS coil. So we changed the pump. Got in it, drove it. I thought I had it fixed. Driving it around, and then after about 15 to 20 minutes, it would start backfiring, act like it couldn't make it up the hill. It just was horrible. So that didn't fix it. Well, I pulled the plugs, and sure enough, those plugs were fouled out. I said in the previous video, showed you guys, this was one of them right here. Of course, these are I think these are auto lights, blaming it on the auto lights. I did put some NGKs in it, and I started getting some better results. It ran great after I changed the plugs. Started tuning the EFI, and that would be another video I show, but the new plugs cleaned up and they really started looking good. So, drove it, did the same thing. After about 15 minutes, it just got worse and worse. When you first start the car up, it starts right up, runs great, runs strong, not on a drag strip or anything, but I drive it around and put my foot in it and blow the tires off of it. It runs fantastic. And after about 15 minutes, it'll start bucking, and you get backfires, and the power just starts dropping off. So Trish was right. She said that O2 sensor, again, I'm not diagnosing this thing as good as what a lot of you folks probably diagnose it with. I'm still an amateur here, so that's why I'm sharing all this stuff. So we pulled the O2 sensor, and sure enough, that O2 sensor it looked pretty foul to me. You can see it's pretty bad. So, thought it was the O2 sensor. We put a new O2 sensor in it. Fired it up, and I said, it's good. Hell yeah, we are good. Driving around, drove around yesterday. After about 15 minutes, barely make it back to the house because it just started, immediately after about 15 minutes, it just started losing power, backfiring through the exhaust. At this point, I'm just pulling my hair out. I'm pulling my hair out. And then I'm doing research, and then I get to thinking, this is probably ignition related. It's not fuel related. No, I don't have all the right, so I don't have the gauge inside the car to see it, but I did when I came back. Fuel pressure it's between 58 and 62 pounds. So, started looking at the MSD 6AL box, but I'll get into that in just a second. So, these are the symptoms of what was going on. So, now the diagnosis. Start diagnosing this thing to the best of my knowledge, to the best that I can do. So this has an MSD 6AL2 with the blaster solid state coil, the square coil. This I put on 12 years ago, and it's never given me a problem, this box. I ran this same box on our 68 Barracuda that Just Mopar Joe has on his channel right now. It had a 408 small block. We raced that thing for years. You know, ran 10-second quarter miles, high sixes in the eighth, and it ran fantastic. So I thought, I'm gonna put this on the Charger, because on the Cuda it's been running great. Well, I started looking into this thing, and to me these things are either good or bad. That's what I always thought. And maybe that still may be the truth. It still may be the truth. However, I've done some diagnosing here and went even on to Holley's site and did some looking. And the LED that's on the bottom here, it's got the LED. Mine's just, I mounted it so you didn't see all the stuff on top. That's just the way I mounted it. I didn't want to have all the stuff, the wires and stuff coming out the top. Looks horrible the way it is now, but it's going to get fixed. But MSD tells you, at least what I see, that when you turn the key on, the LED is supposed to flash 5 times. Key on, engine off. This thing does one short flash. There's only one short flash on the LED. Now it will fire up and it will run, and the light will stay on while it's running. So you tell me. I've had some people say, well, maybe just once, it's just because it crosses the pickup on the distributor. This is a Holley Hyperspark ignition system. So I think this is what they call a Hall effect type distributor. It doesn't really have a pickup module. I think that's what that is, but I could be wrong. Secondly, the coil. I took my multimeter and we did a test. And let me tell you what I found. So, if I get this thing to turn on, there we go. So, if I go back up here to 200 ohms on the multimeter, and I go across here and I check on the primary side. On the primary side, it seems to be okay. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be between 3 and 7, something like that. I looked up the specs. I can't remember just off the top of my head, but that's in. That was good. You guys can opine in the comments, but that side was good. Now, let's check the secondary side. And I'm going to take this up to the 200K setting. Now, this is what we found. This is supposed to be, from what I understand, between 45 or 5 and 7. And I've got 2.2. So, from my amateur experience and diagnosis, again, I'm going to emphasize on the word amateur, but it looks like our secondary side is bad on the coil. I even have more confidence that the coil is bad than the box, but you guys tell me about the LED. If you have a 6AL2 box, does it flash 5 times when you turn the key on? It seems like when I had this on the Barracuda that it did. And then, of course, the light stays on when it's running. So, that is our amateur diagnosis. So, the cure per an amateur. The amateur cure. So, I looked at the MSD boxes, and of course, I forgot that when I went to this Hyperspark and with the Sniper, that they have a whole kit. Now, I've already got the Hyperspark distributor and ignition system. So, what I did was I ordered from Holley, I ordered the Hyperspark coil, ignition coil, the Hyperspark 2 box, and the harness. The reason why I did this, yes, I could just probably been cheaper to get the MSD box and coil, but these aren't red, they're black, and it's a plug and play. You don't have to make any terminals or anything, and it's a cleaner installation. So, I don't know when the Hyperspark box, it shows it's probably, I believe it's on back order. I'm gonna let everybody know when we get it in, we'll do a video of the installation, but I'm not gonna post the video until I drive this thing for an hour and it's not acting up. I'll know pretty quick after about 15 minutes if this cured it. But you guys tell me, am I going down another rabbit? I've gone down so many rabbit holes. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm tired of going down these rabbit holes. So you guys tell me, have you had issues with your MSD boxes? I never had a problem with my MSD box on the Barracuda, and I really never had any problems with the MSD box on this car. And it's very frustrating, as Trish let you know, if this car's not running like it's supposed to, I'm in a bad mood. This has always been my go-to. It keeps my mental state where it needs to be. It's just always been that thing where I come out here and I get in it, I turn the key. It was that way in Texas, it's that way here, and I go have fun. So it's very important to me. A lot of the other projects have kind of stalled for a moment because I'm trying to get this thing back to where it needs to be. So that's where we're at, folks. Put in the comments what you think. Am I going down a rabbit hole? Am I diagnosing things like I shouldn't be diagnosing them? Let me know. So everybody have a great day.